Hey everyone, welcome to Reddit Readout. Today we are checking out ProRevenge. Story 1. Aggressively speed through a residential neighborhood. Now your car is wrecked and it's your fault, dumb bubba fucker. So this was quite a few years ago. One day my kids were skating in a quarter pipe, when this truck comes around the corner with a bubba driving, and he sees my daughter come off the quarter pipe, and instead of slowing down he floors it and rips past my house, still accelerating while yelling something about keep out of the road fuckers. I yelled also slow down. The following weekend I'm out mowing my lawn and I see this guy coming, so I walk out to the edge and try to wave him down to talk, and Bubba floors it again, laughing like a maniac as he goes flying by with his engine redlining. This guy is a nut. So I go to the hardware store and picked up 3 of those 3-foot orange safety cones, and I put a sign on each one of them, slow down, residential neighborhood, kids at play. A few days later I come outside and find the cones have been run over. I already know who done it. I'm pretty pissed off. Like really angry. And in that anger I came up with my most brilliant plan. I went to the hardware store and purchased 3 new cones, along with cement and steel rebar. I filled those fuckers with rebar and cement and let them set. After the cones were ready I put them back out in the side of the street by my house with the same 3 signs as before. It didn't take long. 2 days later I'm in my garage tinkering and I hear that damn truck engine revving up as the bubba goes pedal to the metal. I look up just in time to see his truck steer towards the shoulder to run over the cones. Damn, it was a beautiful sight like none I've ever seen before. He hit the first cone with his bumper and the cone fell forward and rotated the base up towards his engine block and actually lifted the front of his truck upwards, as his front passenger wheel made a direct connection with the second cone and launched his truck up even higher in the air. The third cone also made a direct hit on his right tire suspension as his truck came down to a screeching halt. There were fluids running out from under his truck and his passenger tire was angled inwards at a 90-degree angle. Bubba was pissed off and started screaming about how I wrecked his truck and how I'm gonna pay. I yelled back and said, well then let's call the cops and get them out here to make a report, and you can tell them how you were racing down to road and intentionally ran over the safety cones, or I can call you a tow truck. Which will it be? We called it tow truck. I never did see Bubba drive down my street anymore after that incident. I was worried he'd try to get revenge, but nothing ever happened and we moved out a couple years later. Edit. Didn't expect this to blow up like it has. For those of you talking about the legality of what I did and getting busted or sued, let me clarify some things here. First of all, this happened a long time ago. The legal time limit has expired for anyone to do anything about it in any legal capacity. Also, I consider myself sharper than the average bear, and I didn't enact my plan without thinking it through and thinking about the consequences of my actions. I know a thing or two about how the law works. If Bubba wanted to call the cops, I'd have gone inside my home and locked the door. If the police arrived, I'd tell them through my locked security screen I don't answer questions, and my only statement would be that I only speak through my attorney. At that point, police would make their report and run it up the chain of command. If the state or local prosecutor wanted to conduct an investigation, I'd go with an attorney and deny any involvement. They'd have to, at that point, decide how much time do they have to try and investigate this matter and what is the likelihood of a conviction. Since I lived in a big city, I'm sure they had a lot worse shit happening that would be taking up their caseload. Story 2. Don't want to fix my IT issue? Well, I think it's time for a new CTO. I just want to state that this IT issue is going blow some people's fucking minds. The security flaw that this presented was nothing short of incredible. And the fact that we never had a major security breach is astounding. It truly is. The flaw, you may ask. Everyone in the entire company password was the same password. Yes folks, you read that right, every single password to every single employee login was the same password. It was like this before I joined the company, and for quite a few years after. Until, well, enjoy the story. Now what about the username? That must be the trick, right? Oh yeah, that was a trick. The username was the employee email address. I did point out this flaw to my management and their response was that's not our area to be concerned about, so whatever it paid, well, I'll do my job. And then one day, we had a Windows update which caused a piece of the software I used at work to break. I submitted a help ticket, and after escalating this issue I got to the CTO. It wasn't a huge company. The CTO said, I don't want to spend the time fixing this, use this workaround, to which I pointed out the workaround slows things down, makes my job harder, and this Windows update has to affect more than just me. I was told to suck it up. Now at the time the CEO was the son of the founder and a bit of fuckwit. I legit feel at this point in time he was just collecting a paycheck and letting everything run on auto and didn't pay attention. But I was mad at the CTO for brushing me off, so I penned an email to the CEO. It was a short email. I simply said, I discovered a massive security flaw that could potentially expose us to huge liabilities. When would be a good time to discuss this? The response? What security flaw? I decided to demonstrate the flaw. I picked 2 random salespeople. I didn't know them. I got their username and I logged into their systems. And I pulled 2 random customers' personal information. The kind of information that would have easily allowed me to commit identify fraud, pull out credit in their names, etc. All kinds of bad stuff. I emailed the CEO and I explained anyone who knows the URL to log into our system, can log into any one account, pull up customers' information, and everyone has the same password. To prove this I logged into 2 employees' random accounts, and pulled 2 different customers' profiles and I've attached them. One single disgruntled employee could screw us over. 25 minutes later my phone rings. It's the CEO. He was nice, very interested in how I did this. This guy isn't the sharpest knife in the drawer, and I pointed out the flaw in plain English, and the liability that it presents to him. I walked him through the process of hacking my own account, as he called it. I'd hate to call it hacking cause it was so easy. Now it dawned on this CEO that this liability was huge. I pointed out again in our conversation a single upset employee could destroy us. The fact that it hadn't happened already is nothing short of a miracle. I get told they want me to present this to the executive team, so they can discuss a solution. Honestly, the solution is fucking obvious. So a day later we have the conference call. It's the CEO, the CTO, CFO, the company lawyer, the senior VP, etc. And on the call I demonstrate the flaw and I lay out how I, as a lay person with very little IT background, is able to figure this out. It's incredible that we have this flaw. Everyone is in agreement that is a huge issue. Expect the CTO. The CTO gets very upset at me. He wants me fired for hacking the system. He says that per our employee handbook what I did is fireable offense. I point out that I'm not abusing this loophole and I'm only doing it to expose the flaw because I care about the company, and I think this is something that needs to be brought forward. I point out that a former disgruntled employee could log into an account and steal customers' personal information, and if that were traced back to us the liability would be huge. I could tell our corporate attorney agreed with me and was shocked at what I was demonstrating. The CTO pointed out that former employees' usernames are disabled to wholesale. I pointed out, every employee username is their email address. It would be trivial for a former disgruntled employee to use a different employee email address that they remember to log in, and since everyone's password is the same they don't even have to guess. The CTO points out that we would know who did it cause of the IP address. I pointed out that VPNs are indeed a thing. The corporate attorney actually wasn't too familiar with what VPNs do and I explained it. And what shocked me, if the whole time the only person in the meeting who didn't agree this flaw needs to be changed was the CTO. The CEO made it clear that this issue would be fixed by the end of business that day, and there was no ifs, ands or buts about this. The meeting ended. After the meeting the CTO called me. Privately he was pissed. I just exposed his incompetence because the system was his design. The decision for everyone to have the same password was his decision. And I know why he did it. He did it cause he was fucking lazy. And I said to the CTO, you're a shitty CTO, you shouldn't be in the position you are, and you're lazy, you should have found a better solution for my help ticket. He stops and asks, so this is about your stupid help ticket? I go yes, yes it is. He laughs and says he's going have me fired and I laugh and go I'm pretty sure someone is getting fired, I'm also super confident that's not going be me. Well sure enough later that day we got an email stating that everyone was to change their passwords to something unique. A week later the CEO announced, the old CTO stepped down to spend more time with his family. On the first day of the new CTO tenure he sent me an email telling me he wanted to personally work on my help ticket and find a solution around the Windows update. Which I'm pleased to say he did. And I later had conversations with our attorney at a meeting, we legit never had a security breach. Which is simply astounding. The attorney admitted that was just plain dumb luck on our part, and if we would have had a security breach it would have been very bad for us. Story 3. When your ex tells you to move out while she's on a work trip because the guy she cheated on you with is moving and you get very creative moving out. I had originally posted this as a response to a question in r/unethical pro-life tips and was told that this would be appreciated here. Enjoy! I did this to an ex who asked me to move out while she was on a work trip and told me she was coming back with her new boyfriend, we were still together when she left. I got these little noisemakers, battery-powered ones the size of a quarter that emit sounds at just the right volume that you aren't sure if you really heard it, so quiet that two people could be sitting in an average-sized room and while one can barely hear it the other wouldn't hear a thing. They last ages, and fit perfectly in light fixtures and in wall outlets. I got a box of 20 of them for like $100 on eBay and got so creative all over the house, her car, I even hid them in a boat her father got her, rich family and she grew up sailing. Now these little bastards make a noise at complete random intervals, could be minutes, could be hours, could take a whole day off. They cycle noises like children laughing, a dying breath as they called it, a whistle, scratching noises, some other ones I can't remember but you get the idea. It was so unpredictable it was near impossible for someone to just figure it out. Months go by, I get a new place, get my life back up. Now we had a few friends in common and one of them I kept up with. They were kinda sour about how she ended things but they had grown up together and kept up the friendship, loosely talking and catching up on occasion. I never really asked about her, but one day we get to talking and he's wanting to prank some friends on a camping trip so I tell him about the noisemakers. As I'm telling him about them he slowly starts making this face, like he's gradually losing his shit. He's got this huge grin on his face and asks me, "You put these in, X, shit didn't you?" And when I admit he starts laughing hysterically. Turns out her new boyfriend had only lasted a few months, and had left telling her that he couldn't handle whatever was going on with them and their mental states. Turns out for a while they had both heard things and sometimes only one would hear them, which gave the illusion that something really fucked with them was going on in their heads at different times. They couldn't figure it out and eventually he wanted out completely, and having run down all the crazy list of shit people who are hearing voices would think ended it, believing he had been infected with some brain worm the government was putting in vaccines or something like that. It was amazing, I hadn't expected to hear anything about it. I rode that train for weeks. When it went away I got another hit of that high. She moved out, told her parents she didn't want the house and to give it to her brother or sell it. Wouldn't tell them why. I always tell people who ask about her that I hold no grudge, and don't tell them the part where I totally fucked with her so bad I overshot the got her backstage and hit the blissful state of satisfied with my work. My wife knows this story by heart because it's her favorite one to tell. That's all for today. Please don't forget to like and subscribe.